Hello, this is Greg Allison with Galactic Greg's coming to you on 31 May 22. Time on deck is 010600 hours Central Daylight Time. Yes, in the wee hours. So I'll post this later in the day because I won't get any views any other way. Guys, things are crazy. You got to look at all these Pentagon reports that's been coming out in the last several months, and including the testimony to Congress a couple of weeks ago about unidentified aerial phenomena, what we always have called UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Now, guys, this is a topic most of us serious aerospace guys try for the most part to avoid speaking about, just because it's so woo, 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 woo. It can discredit you. But when the Pentagon comes out repeatedly and keeps talking about it, banging on it, well, you know, maybe you just got to take a look at it. And furthermore, I actually came out on Rex Bear's leak project back after some of the first announcements of the Tic Tac videos the Air Force released, and said, you know, these videos are a poor excuse for them to claim as proof that there's something going on, because I gave a lot of analysis of how the camera angles, the plane speeds, and the distance can make the objects look like they're going a lot faster than they really were, and that it could have actually just been smaller balloons. And all that rotational stuff could have been the FLIR unit on the aircraft desaturating. So I went into all that kind of stuff. But you know, whatever you think about that, that's immaterial for this discussion tonight, because they've come out and released a lot more stuff, and they've claimed from the Department of Defense that over the last year there have been 440 more reports just this last year, as opposed to the past several years from 2003, I think, to some other time. 2017, they claimed there was something like 177 reports that they could not verify as normal kind of stuff, stars, slump gas, airplanes, or whatever, or somebody just having one too many whatevers. Which, you know, most, you know, they claim that most reports can be written off, you know, by far the vast majority. But these are reports, these 440 of the last year, are reports filed by the Department of Defense people, by members of the military, not members of, you know, the civilian workforce. They have often been verified on radar by pilots and people on the ground. Multiple sources supposedly verified some of these reports, and the movements have been, shall we say, highly interesting. So tonight I'm going to make the case that they're not space aliens, that they're not from out there. Why, Greg? You got to be kidding. You mean space aliens aren't space aliens? Well, perhaps not. But then I'm going to throw a kink in a whole thing and just twist it all around. So just grab on to your 10 full hats, because you're probably going to need one for this report tonight, today, because this is going to get interesting. It's going to get deep, and I'm going to have a little fun with it. And besides, guys, you got to really watch out. Caution. There's wormholes here. And I ought to know. I am a worm farmer, among other things. Be careful. Don't slip down the wormhole. So we're going to do just that. We're going to go down the wormhole along with Alice and the Rabbit into wonderland of UFO reports and other associated discussions and phenomenologies. And like I said, I'm going to make the case that they're not space aliens. Or maybe not. Frankly, we don't know. The Pentagon just can't tell us what it is they're saying. All they can say is it outperforms anything they understand according to conventional physics. Now, whether or not that is true is a whole nother argument, a whole nother discussion, but we're just going to go with it for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a share. We're going to go to PowerPoint. Ding, ding, ding. And here we go, guys. Not from space. Really? Maybe not. So what is it? Where are they? Well, here we go, guys. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, bang the update notification bell, and click off, because I'm going to cover some more of this. In fact, my very best performing videos on this channel I took them down because the lady that was being interviewed was getting so much attention that she asked me to take them down. Well, I'm going to strip out her name and contact data, and we're going to include the very first 2 videos that I post on this channel, which outperformed anything else. And they were on a review by a whole bunch of engineers from Marshall Space Flight Center, of propulsion engineers, aerospace engineers, dozens of them sitting in a room going through a big review of, yes, anti-gravity type propulsion and what it means. So hang on your hats. That's going to be re-released soon. So guys, let's think about this. What are we talking about? Greg, what do you mean space aliens aren't from space? Look out here in space. You know, today what we know is there are over 5,000 confirmed exoplanets, planets outside our solar system is what we mean by exoplanets. And we believe that there are thousands of more candidates that we've discovered that we just haven't verified them as exoplanets. So it's estimated that there are 100 to 400 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, depending on who you see. I see some estimates used to say 100 billion. Most are saying 200 billion. Some are saying 400 billion, excuse me. And studies from the Kepler Satellite Telescope suggest that the data estimates, you could have 300 million to 6 billion Earth-like planets in our galaxy. Some of the latest reports I've seen says 300 million, but I have seen reports that have suggested 300 million to 6 billion Earth-like planets in our galaxy. And Earth-like planets aren't the only ones that might actually produce life. We may have life forming around red dwarfs, which are more plentiful. Their habitable zone is closer. I'm going to show you what a habitable zone is in a minute. But guys, we're going to flip through some more charts here in a minute. Guys, in 2016, it's estimated that the number of galaxies in the universe were 200 billion. 200 billion galaxies, maybe more, maybe less, we don't know. To be honest, we don't know. But, just like David Bowman said in the movie 2001, Space Odyssey, as he come up to the monolith, and also in the book, when he got sucked into it, the last thing he was reportedly heard to say, according to the storylines, it's full of stars. Well, that's space, full of stars, full of galaxies, full of potentials for life. So, Greg, what do you mean there's no space aliens in space? Well, I didn't exactly say that, but I'm saying, hey, I'm making a case for what we're seeing may not be from there. But how can that be, Greg? Come on, look at all these opportunities. Well, there's problems with these opportunities, guys. There's problems when we look out into space. We're not seeing these little guys on the left, not out there. Maybe not, but maybe there's an exception. So I will throw you a twist in this whole monkey wrench in this whole story at the end. So hang on your hats, guys, and let's see it all. So the thing is, guys, for all the possibilities for planets out there, guys, for all the possibilities for life, if you took and calculated, if you took and figured that each star, say one star has a civilization, and it develops past where we're at today, just past us, which is going to be 100 years more technology, maybe 200 years more technology, which is not anything, a blip in a geological time scale. It's nothing. It's not even a blink. If we get to that point, we ought to be able to travel or send spacecraft with people, maybe a colonization ship, to another star system. And once we send, to a star system, we send a few star systems, and people go there and reproduce. Okay, so let's say we can only travel a very small fraction of the speed of light. Even with that, in the vast size of our galaxy over the eons that we've had stars like our sun, which many are older than ours, many are older than ours, our galaxy should be teeming with civilizations, with life that is readily obvious, it's undeniable. Yet when we look out into the vastness of the cosmos, the problem is, hello, we're not seeing them. We're not there. We don't see jack diddle. Yeah, maybe there's something flying around our atmosphere, but we can't prove that it's from out there. I'm going to go more into that in a little bit. So there's other things that we should be seeing, guys. I'm going to talk about that. So this brings up the Fermi paradox. Now, I could do a lot of shows on the Fermi paradox alone. Author Isaac has probably done 2 or 3 dozen shows on the Fermi paradox. Why? Because it is such a paradox. It is the conflict between the lack of clear, obvious evidence for extraterrestrial life and various high estimates for their existence. Like I was talking about all these potential planets. So we had Enrico Fermi, who was an Italian-American physicist who was in this conversation in 1950 with some of his buddies, physicist Edward Teller, who invented the H-bomb, Herbert York, Emil Konpinsky, and others. And they were talking about prospects for life in space. They were actually talking about UFOs and possibilities for professional light travel, which they didn't believe could happen. And, he just kind of went through this math in his head, okay, if you have a civilization and it it develops the point it can colonize another galaxy or another star system. And then, they traveled a mere fraction of the speed of light to get to the other star. And then they spend, 1,000 years there developing civilization. Then they springboard out and just spread out through the cosmos. Well, they should have been here already. So he just blurted out, but where is everybody? Where are they at? And that has been the question that's not been answered since he asked this in 1950, which, by the way, is now 72 years ago. Holy guacamole. Unfortunately, Dr. Fermi only lived about another 4 years. He's a noted physicist in the world of quantum physics. He was quite the quantum physicist, Dr. Fermi. Well, one of the things that point out the prospects for life and maybe suggest an abundance of it is the famed Drake equation. And it has N, the number of civilizations in our galaxy with which communication via light or radio waves might be possible. So which says which are in our current past light cone. Excuse me, everything's in the past that we see looking out. So anyway, so he's got these different R numbers here. R star is the average number of star formation in our galaxy. R sub P, and F sub P is the fraction of those stars that have planets, which now appears to be almost all of them. N sub E is in multiple planets. N sub E is the average number of planets that can potentially support life in the stars that have planets. And that's turning out to be a big number too. F sub 1 is the fraction of planets that could support life that actually develop life at some point. Well, we had life on our rocks on our planet just as soon as the lava cooled. Now, that's really strange because each cell that forms life, the individual cell, is extremely complicated. It's like more complicated than New York City, Mumbai, or any big megapolis. These single cell organisms are incredibly complex. The DNA in them, the RNA, just the proteins and the way they're formed to build these things is incredibly complex. So I am a big fan of panspermia, and I think it's happened through natural processes, but one can argue different ways about that too. So I think maybe the life in the universe, at least in microbial life, might be plentiful, but F sub 1, the fraction of planets that with life that actually going to develop intelligent life. And they don't mean dolphins, which are really smart, or squids, which are smart, or octopus, but he's talking civilizations. That number might be just one. It might be the only one, possibly. I think that's probably not true, but that's a possibility. The fraction of civilizations that develop a technology that releases detectable signs of their existence into space. Well, we're almost there. We're almost at F sub C. L, the length of time for which such civilizations release detectable signals into space. Well, we began really putting out radio broadcasts in about 1921, about 101 years ago. We may be done. We could be over. We could have a nuclear war this year. We could have had a nuclear war in 1962. In that case, that number L for us would have been 41 years. So we don't know, guys, what that number L, the average number L is. That might be an extremely short number, and this may be why Fermi's paradox exists. That's one potential argument that's made among many, many, many. So we could do a whole host of shows on Fermi's paradox, but not tonight. We have a little different situation and story to talk about. So here we're talking about, 5,030 confirmed discoveries whenever this chart was put out by NASA here, with another 8,974 candidates within almost 4,000 planetary systems. So some of these, stars have more than one confirmed planet around them, and we'll be finding more and more and more. So the question is, where are they? What's going on here? I add the kid to this NASA page here. Well, in a star system, in order to have life, the planet needs to be in what we call the habitable zone, at least we think it does, where you'd find liquid water. Venus is just almost there, but a little bit on the inside and too hot. Now, that may have had liquid water. We believe Venus once had liquid water, as we believe did Mars. But we now know that that's not the case. This is the Kepler system, which is, I believe, 186. And this is our system by comparison, showing the habitable zones. Red dwarf stars have a whole nother host of problems for hosting life. We'll talk about that in a future video. Flares, having what's called eyeball planets, are always facing one side facing the star, and all the challenges that would take. Well, now here's a chart: pressure versus temperature that we can look at to understand where you could have liquid water within the atmosphere of a planet. Now, Mars has got a very low dense atmosphere. Pressure goes up this way. Mars is low density and not as warm as, say, Earth. Earth is higher density and warmer. Venus is hot and high density. So there's no liquid water on Venus. Mars is right at the cusp of at the equator. On occasion, it might get a little liquid water, but it's mostly going to evaporate and then go up in the atmosphere and get stripped off and be lost to space, probably. That's what happens on Mars. Mars is a terrible place to try to keep water. But this is why some people want to terraform Mars, is because of this location right here. They're seeing some potential. This pressure line right here is 1 bar or 100,000 Pascal, which is the Earth atmospheric pressure of 14.7 psi at sea level. That's what that means. And the temperature range, this is 50 C right here on that range. So this is also the atmosphere of Venus is right about here. If you go up about 50 kilometers. So there we go, guys. So here's Venus on the surface. Nope, you don't want to be there. But you get in the atmosphere, you're like right here. So guys, that's why I say it may be easier to colonize Venus than Mars for many reasons. Okay, guys. So this is an interesting chart that you could apply to any planetary system with these pressures to understand the presence of liquid water. It's also, but we find liquid water also maybe in the moons of Jupiter. And if you have big planets like that with moons around them, any star might be able to support life that could form in a moon like that. I mean, that could be all over. That may be the most prevalent life in the universe, but what is it? Maybe fish, maybe mollusk, maybe crabs. You like crab fishing? Maybe nothing at all. There's a Sombrero galaxy, guys. So, why aren't we seeing civilizations that all the galaxies and all the stars? When we look out, we're not seeing the effects of possible civilizations out there. What kind of effects will we expect to see? Building of megastructures. We don't see that. Megastructures might be a lot of objects orbiting that star to start collecting the light. And some of these may be connected. Now, those are shown as not connected. This is connected. This is what we call a ring world, a concept by Larry Niven that he actually wrote about in a book with the same name, Ring World. Now, see, this shows a big, long ring going around a star, and it's big enough that it contains an atmosphere. And it's deep enough that with it spinning, that the atmosphere is held down by centrifugal force. And inside you got mountains and rivers and lakes, and it's a beautiful world. And goes all the way around the star. And you could build these without just a fraction of the asteroidal resources in our own solar system, believe it or not. You can make many thousands of times the surface area of the Earth. And if you smash the planets up, you could do far more than that. Or the moons of the planets and then the planets. In fact, you could surround a star with more and more of these, completely building a sphere around the star so dense with objects that no visible light would come out. And what you would see, though, is heat would still escape. So you'd see infrared light from that star for the most part. That's what is known as a Dyson sphere. The concept by Freeman Dyson, who I once had the privilege of meeting. Freeman Dyson. So here's the idea, like our sun. Here is the sun. Here's Mercury, here's Venus. I don't know what the orbit of Earth is in here, but this is the comparable Dyson sphere around our sun. And this is the idea of a Dyson sphere being built from various plates or congregations or whatever, just some artist rendition. I don't know if that's very meaningful, but I think a Dyson sphere would be most likely several little smaller facilities that are just orbiting, built over time, that just so happen over time as an aggregate take out the sunlight of the star at most of it. And they might be built to something called O'Neill cylinders or something like this. This is a space habitat concept derived from studies led by Gerard K. O'Neill, who I met in 1981 at Fort Greely, Alaska. Gerard K. O'Neill. Got a photograph of that somewhere. I don't know where. Yeah, hang on, guys. I'll have to show that in a minute. Dr. Gerard K. O'Neill led these studies. He also had something called the Space Studies Institute. And they, hang on. If you can see it, I will show it at the end of the video here. But that is me, and that's Dr. Gerard K. O'Neill at the University of Fairbanks, Alaska. If y'all can see that, I'll show it later. I'm not sure what you can see as I'm in the screen mode here. But these space facilities here were designed with 1970s bridge building technology. I mean, the material technologies did not have to be that advanced to build structures of this size. It's not we can build far larger structures, even with the bridge building technology of that day. So we believe with the technology we're getting today with graphene and Kevlar, especially the graphene technology, that we can build far bigger facilities. But this idea was this thing, you'd have two cylinders that counter rotated to cancel out the gyroscopic action. So you could actually point them wherever you wanted to. You'd point them straight to the sun, and you'd have these mirror panels out there that would catch your sunlight and reflect them through windows. And on the other side of the window was a strip of land that this light would shine on. And these things would be 20 miles long and 4 miles in diameter, with specialized agricultural modules out here on the outside, where the atmosphere is richer in carbon dioxide and tailored for whatever kind of plants you want to grow in these little gardens. And these are actually individually spun up, and they're quite huge, have artificial gravity in them. So you can see there's another set of O'Neill cylinders. There's some spacecraft, the Earth and the Moon. This would be out at a Lagrange point was the idea. Hence, you know, the French mathematician Lagrange worked out mathematics in the 1770s, I believe, in the 1700s, for a two-body gravitational system where the gravity would cancel each other out. There's 5 such points where one body works another. And we formed the L5 Society in 1975, I believe, based on this concept. And I was a member. I joined in 1978. My membership number is 4203, I think. All right, there we go, my friends. Here we are. This is, again, the National Space Society. This is another rendition of these O'Neill facilities. This is looking inside. Guys, this could be, so we could have a very exciting future in space. These windows, these are cables going around like you'd see on a bridge, basically, to hold the windows. So the idea is it has cables spun around this thing, just like you'd put on Golden Gate Bridge, for example. And then here, you've got forests, lakes, mountains, meadows, farms, and clouds. You would have true weather inside a facility like this. The atmosphere would be thick enough that it would block cosmic rays coming from whatever radiation is coming from above, coming straight down. You'd be pointed toward the sun, so you'd have a shield in the front to block solar flares out. And it would be, and you'd have about 6 foot of dirt underneath your feet, which would provide you perfect shielding. Now, there's many smaller concepts that will lead up to something this size. You wouldn't jump straight out and start building this size space habitat right off the bat. You start with a Von Braun type station or something much, much smaller, which some of my friends are involved in things like that already. So another view inside with nothing less than the Golden Gate Bridge. And there's a little stream, and there's some people out sitting next to the stream, a little house up here. There's your agricultural zones. Looking out, and you see the floor area and adjacent cylinder here. So this is some wild ideas, but this is something I've loved since the 70s. I've loved these concepts because I think we have a beautiful future. Well, the problem though is, you know, we should have Dyson spheres. We should have ring whirls, Dyson spheres, all throughout the stars, throughout our galaxy. A type 1 civilization harnesses a Kardashev type 1 civilization. It should be able to harness the energy of its planet. A type 2 civilization would harness the energy of its star. It's thought that you would be able to transition from a type 1 to type 2 probably within a couple of 100 years. So there should be a lot of type 2 civilizations out there. There should be a lot of Dyson spheres. A type 3 civilization, which should be within the time span of existence of life in this galaxy, as people think from the Drake equation, as Fermi thought, we should have type 3 civilization. Type 3 civilization will be able to harness the entire power of a galaxy. And we don't see any galaxies that are redshifted enough to be explainable that way. I mean, the light from them, not redshifted, but the light from them being infrared, diffused light. Shifting is where the spectral lines get shifted over the red side. That's different. So here we go. We look out, and this is what we see, not this. We see this, although there's some things that we have rockets, and people report this kind of stuff in Earth. But when we look out here, we see stars, beautiful stars, but we don't see any evidence that there's anybody out there that we can pin a finger on, for the most part. I will throw a couple of exceptions in here. And one being Tabby Star. Tabby Star has unusual light fluctuations in that it dims fairly regularly up to 22%. That made some people think there might have been a partial Dyson sphere. But the problem is that it's got a lack of observed infrared light. So most people are saying, well, it must be uneven dust ring, luminosity modulated by changes in the efficiency of heat transport to the photosphere, which generates the light. Swarms of dusty comet fragments in highly eccentric orbits. Now, a lot of people doubt that you could have enough comet fragments that last long enough to give a 22% dimming. So we don't know. This star is an enigma, but it's 1,470 light years or 450 parsecs from Earth. So 1,470 light years. So if you could travel the speed of light, it would take you almost 1,500 years to get there. So, you know, you need to pack your lunch. Another enigma is the WOW signal, which was discovered from Ohio State University's Big Ear telescope back in 15 August 77. And what we had is an operator was looking at the data. His name was Jerry R. Eman, and he found a sequence of characters that were complete 6EQUJ5. And it so astonished him that next to the signal, he wrote the word wow. Well, we've never seen it again. You get little digits, 1s, 2s, 3s. Well, this is never repeated. Now, it just so happens that it's recently been announced they've looked in that area of space, and there actually is one sunlight planet in that area, one candidate. But we've had no repeat of the signal whatsoever, nothing else. And I'll show you some articles maybe in a future video. Peter Simon Warden, General, retired Air Force, who was also the Center Director for Ames at one time. He's now heading up one of these ET search groups, and he's saying that he thinks that this was just a human signal that was reflected off of something, although it's not in the spectrum of the communications of things that actually that spectrum that we've seen this on is prohibitive for human communications. But you know, if you take Occam's razor, which says the simplest explanation is probably the true one, it would be something that we generate, just a spurious signal, most likely. But was it? Well, we don't know, but still. Okay, and we had these fast radio bursts that you've heard people talk about too. And they range in length from a fraction of a millisecond to a few milliseconds. And they put out an enormous, they're regular signals, and they put out an enormous amount of energy. Like in, let's see, where was it? They will put out within just a few milliseconds, or in a millisecond, as much energy as the sun puts out in 3 days. Now, if there's a civilization communicating with that, they're putting a lot of power behind it. That would have to definitely be a little bit beyond the Kardashev 1 civilization. But is that what's happening? Well, there's natural sources and explanations being explained for these magnetars and collapsed supernovae, rapidly rotating neutron stars, black holes. They're coming up with things they think will explain all this away, maybe. Okay, now we're going to go into the darker side of this whole discussion space of what people call space aliens, because the Pentagon actually went into this. So since the Pentagon delved into this, I will go a little bit into it too. But first, I'm going to point, yeah, they didn't just say, hey, we got things flying around the sky. Apparently, due to Freedom of Information request from one of the rags out there, it's claimed that there were some extraordinary claims in the Pentagon papers. We're going to go into that. But there's this quote from Terrence McKenna that always haunted me. I always thought it was kind of strange, spooky. We live in a symbiotic relationship with something that disguises itself as an alien invasion so as not to frighten us. What? So as not to frighten us, like an alien invasion wouldn't frighten us, as if this is something worse than an alien invasion, but we live in a symbiotic, codependent relationship with whatever this is. Holy guacamole, that's deep and scary too. What the heck does that mean, if anything? Now, we know he had his little ways of getting an alternate reality and seeing the things that he saw, which he put high credibility to. Beyond that, I don't know. But this statement may actually be right in a sense. It's really strange. But see, guys, here's what's strange. The things that be flying around in the skies that the Air Force sees, but it don't come and knock on our door. It don't want to say, hey, take me to your leader. It hides. It's deceptive. We don't know what it is. It don't even make walking around sense. Will something fly all the way across the galaxy at great energy to play hide and go seek with us? What's going on, guys? Things are really, really strange. But the stranger things are some of the things that people claim are associated with this phenomenology. And that may be stranger than the lights in the sky. And apparently some of that made its way into these Department of Defense reports. I wouldn't report on this otherwise. But guys, apparently this is from a Department of Defense report. Woman claims she fell pregnant after UFO encounter. Pentagon report finds. Really? You got to be kidding me. A woman claims she became pregnant after she encountered a UFO. Titled Anomalous Acute and Subacute Field Effects on Human and Biological Tissues, report explains the impact that alleged UFO meetings have had on people's well-beings. It's gone into more than just these so-called pregnancies. It also lists odd side effects, including unaccounted for pregnancy, which could arguably be the strangest of them all. What, alien on board? Yeah, that's pretty darn weird. The report has obtained by the Sun. Now the Sun, well, you know, that's kind of like the National Enquirer, probably Weekly World News. So we might laugh this whole thing off, except they claim they got this from the Department of Defense. Again, I said they claim. After they sent in a Freedom of Information request to the United States Department of Defense headquarters and described instances of apparent abduction, telepathy, and perceived teleportation. Well, now for the phenomenology known as alien abduction, these things have often been described by those people that make claims in this area. And I'm not making any claims at this moment. I'm just telling you what some people describe and report. And if nothing else, these people are not having good nights when they're seeing these things. Whatever they're experiencing, be it real or not, they're not having fun. Matter of fact, if you were like forced to be pregnant by an alien, that would be a very horrific experience. So, but the lady said, I would love to meet an alien, a friendly one, obviously, and just hang out and ask questions. Really? So this guy right here, he's just ready to hang out and answer your questions. He says, what do you want to know? Except they never do that. They play hide and go seek if they're real, if this stuff is happening. They're not forthcoming. They're not knocking on our doors, telling us who they are. Take me to your leader. What is going on? It's mind-boggling. Definitely can rip your mind apart just to contemplate this whole story. This is why nobody wants to talk about it. This is why pilots that see the stuff just shut their mouth. Engineers, when they see these things, they shut their mouths. They don't want to talk about it because it'll be career ending. Because it is just so far out there, we can't wrap our minds around it. So we choose to ignore it and say it never happened. Problem is, we don't know what it is. Kind of like Jimmy Carter. It all depends on what the definition of is. Well, in this case, that's more than we even know. So this report goes further. Sufficient accidents have been accurately reported and medical data acquired as to support a hypothesis that some advanced systems are already deployed and opaque to full U.S. understanding. You know, that's kind of in keeping what the DOD's been saying. So this may be a real DOD report. I said may. Okay, it is the sun, all right? Sufficient incidents and accidents. Hypothesis that some advanced systems are already deployed and opaque to full U.S. understanding. Well, what our side is claiming is they don't understand what they're seeing. That's what they're claiming. Again, that's their claim. The report was part of more than 1,500 pages of Defense Intelligence Agency documents for the Pentagon UFO program, the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. Now, there's another guy who's was part of that who's made some announcements lately. Maybe I'll do some news articles and a follow-up interview on this, or follow-up program. I got a whole bunch of articles that kind of tie in to what we're talking about now, but I don't want to do them right now because it's just to make this too long. The Sun also noticed that they requested these documents in December 2017, and they were just handed over with some portions not accessible. Well, some people think there's folks from out there that controls what goes on here. Some people think. Wow. Yikes. He looks like a few people I know, right? Okay. He could be a banker, right? And then there's reports of the Honeyberry, the wonder weapon, or the Luftwaffe, that the Germans supposedly came up with these things in World War II. Foo Fighters were reported by our Air Force. What were they? Did these things come from Earth? Have we had this technology for decades? What is it? And then we have some people like Dr. David Jacobs, who believes that the whole reason they're staying quiet and making abductions, this is what David Jacobs, a professor from Dr. David Jacobs from Temple University in Pennsylvania, he believes that they are breeding a hybrid race to take over the Earth, one that will be in tune with them and their technology and have their minds and our bodies so they can survive in this world, and they'll just take over. And so they've got a huge threat to us that they're going to just take everything over. Well, then why wouldn't they just build Dyson spheres? Why are they going to come take over our world? Why wouldn't they just build much, they can build so much more in space than you could messing around on a planet with weather and earthquakes and hurricanes and volcanoes and a planet you can't move, taking asteroid strikes. A planetary surface is probably not the best place for a civilization of that type. So why are they doing this if they're doing it? And maybe the real explanation is they're not space aliens. Again, I'm going to come back to that. Because why would somebody come across the universe to play such games, play hide and go seek just to fetch cows and to give anal probes? Would you travel all the way across the galaxy just to find some poor sap out in the woods and give them a probe? I don't know, guys. or to snatch a cow? And supposedly that's how they eat their beef. Dissolving them and painting them on their skin. That's what some people tell us. Again, as if any of this stuff is true. Now, we may go more into that in the future, but there's a problem with Dr. David Jacobs' analysis. He thinks this phenomenology started just a couple hundred years ago, but I got an issue with that. And well, I want to tell you that issue. I'm going to say that these things, if they're from here, they may be just multi-dimensional beings. They may be popping in and out of our dimension, not coming from space. They may be from a dimension adjacent to us, like right next door. And all they have to do is pierce this little membrane, a frequency difference or something between one dimension and another. And physicists are more and more beginning to talk about alternate dimensions, parallel universes. And they think they're seeing evidence of it in the gravity and the holes in the standard model of physics that we have today. So also, if you look at the time wave concepts, there's a whole lot of ideas that are suggesting the dual slit experiments that we have a multiverse. And some evidence that is even suggesting there may be a parallel universe running backwards in time next to ours, or other parallel universes, maybe multiple ones, maybe zillions of them, multiverse. Now, multiverse is a whole nother topic that I will delve into in the not too distant future. I've actually built a bunch of charts, if I can find where to put them, on this topic. But for some people, this is nothing but a horrible nightmare. Why is that? Well, the people that think they're getting abducted, maybe they're having sleep paralysis. Some people think it's just a dream state. Some people think. But the people experiencing this don't agree with that. And to them, many of them, it's horrific. It's closer to rape. So if these things are so wonderful, why, if they exist, and why are they running around being sub-deceptive and harassing people? Do they do that? I don't know. But guys, here's my dilemma with this whole problem, the whole suggestion. Dr. David Jacobs thinks these things have only been around for a couple of hundred years, but the phenomenology ascribed to abduction experiences is the same phenomenology described by people from hundreds of years ago, over 1,000 years ago, for what's called incubus and succubus, i.e., dealing with demons. Incubus and succubus, demon visitations at night that a lot of people think have gone on in their lives. Whether that be true or not, the phenomenology described are the same. Also, people have described so-called space aliens and so-called demons, both of having a sulfurous smell about them. So, my friends, I have to ask, is the phenomenology of these so-called space aliens the same phenomenology that we would ascribe to demons? Maybe some angels? Is it one and the same? Or is it something different? Does any of this exist? Is it all figments of our imagination? Why are there so many reports? Why is the Pentagon, at least things flying in the sky? Now, things flying in the sky and things knocking on your bed, that's two different things. Maybe. Some people are saying they're not. They're tied together. Dr. Jacobs got his information through a lot of hypnosis. Then again, why would you believe anything that you get as a source from deceptive beings? These beings are deceptive if they exist, because if nothing else, if they're flying around in the skies, they're hiding from us. They're automatically deceptive, even if they're our own vehicles. The whole thing is deception, because it don't come forward and say, here we are this, we are that, here's our technology. It's all hidden. Will it be ours, theirs, or nobody's at all? Or another country? Who is it? Well, some people think we got a defense threat because it may be other nations doing this. Just like some people think the Germans had this technology. And some people on Earth have been trying to develop this technologies for years. And just so happens, the very first video I put on my channel was a review of anti-gravity research. Several anti-gravity research efforts by an individual who was starting an institute to fund such activities. And in this meeting, there was literally dozens of the top propulsion experts and engineers from the Marshall Space Flight Center. Nobody there was laughing. Everybody took it seriously. I'm going to repost that video. I'm going to take this person's name and contact out, so she will not get harassed. But I am going to replay the video. If you recognize her, leave her alone. Don't bug her. That's all I'm going to ask, because she don't want to be bothered. She's got more contacts than she can handle. So I just ask you to, and if she complains again, I will take it down again. So please don't bug her. If you want to watch this information, you know, just enjoy the information. Don't take it out upon you to harass somebody that does not want to be harassed. I'm just going to try to provide information. So I'm going to strip her contact information from the report, which is what was in there before. Okay, so what are these guys? Are we dealing with demons? Do they come from a dimension next door to us? Maybe they're not space aliens. Maybe not at all. But, here's the twist. Strange UFO photographed by Mars observer. Holy smoke, just when I debunked the whole idea they're from space, we get UFO pictures taken from space. Okay, yikes. But even, we're sending stuff to Mars. So an advanced civilization that's coincident with ours could do the same. So that could still be from Earth. Maybe. Maybe not. So there's the risk, the twist. There's the rub. The bottom line is we don't know what the stuff is. It kind of goes back to what was said up here, whether the Sun is a weekly world news or whatever they are. The statement has a ring of truth to it that systems are already deployed and opaque to full U.S. understanding, at least what's unclassified. It may be that they fully understand it. Maybe they're ours. Maybe all ours. These guys may be ours too. Is that scary? That's really scary. Gosh, if our government's got these kind of things hidden in the closet and they throw them at us, yikes. But then again, we don't know, guys. And what are the things? Are there being some out there? If so, are they good or are they bad? I've got another report I've just seen claims that there's probably 4 malevolent civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy, 4 evil civilizations that would destroy us if they had the chance. Just somebody going through the numbers and thought experiments. That's what he came up with. But then again, he could be full of it. The bottom line is we just don't know. Let's hope we meet the guys on the left and not the guys on the right. But they may both be out there. They may be out there in the galaxy, just waiting to meet us. Or maybe no civilization ever survives past the point we're at now. Maybe we're already long in the tooth and overdue for expiration. We're certainly seeming like we're trying to do everything we can to wipe ourselves out right now. Let's hope it don't happen. You can see many of the videos I put on Galactic Grades about how to prep for these crazy times we're in, because we may be on the cusp of a nuclear war. Let's hope not. Anyway, in the meantime, guys, if you got your UFO parked in the back, and when there's no valet parking here today, so you're gonna have to park for yourself. And with that, I'm gonna have to say thank y'all for watching, guys. More to come, much more to come. Stop the share. Halo, I've got an interview coming up with on this channel, Galactic Grades, which I'll post this evening, if provided I'm posting this actually on Tuesday, which I think I will during the day, about 4, with Lena Bokal. Lena is a space expert from India and a space advocate. And she's going to be talking about how India is rising to be the next space superpower, next space powerhouse. And I'm also going to do some discussion with her background, how she came, so she's a big time space advocate, promoter, educator, popularizer. And so how she got enthused to do this and how she's transmitting this to other people. And then she's going to give us a presentation. And then I am going to rework those videos, the very first post way back, and repost them on anti-gravity propulsion. Oh, by the way, I do and have done for years rockets. As you know, I've got an extra rocket motor, a hybrid fuel grain sitting right here. This is the Hart Cat's Prize rocket fuel grain test motor. Before that, I was doing high altitude liftoff motors. They got me in the Guinness Book of World Records. They got me the Space Pioneer Award. And I work rockets, my day job, but I've also have a past I've been involved in some entrepreneurial companies that looked at other things. Maybe more in the future. Anyway, all right, my friends, with that, I'm going to say, hang on to your hats, hang on to your tinfoil caps. We got a lot to talk about here in the future. So if you're not subscribed, once again, I'm for you to subscribe, bang that notification bell, and click off. And check my links I'll put in the show notes. Those are more associated with my Green Greg's sister channel, but it still helped me as I've not yet got this channel monetized. So please share my videos. Help me get make this video go viral. Let's get monetized here. All right, my friends. So because YouTube will pick up the videos then and really spread them once this channel gets monetized. And I'm already 3,000 subscribers. I should have been monetized a long time ago. I would have been if I hadn't taken down these videos I'm about to remaster. Okay, my friends. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and have an awesome day. Have a happy June. Goodbye.